ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ BI ಕುದಾನ್ಪುರ್ ಅಂತ. ನಾನು RV ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರಿಂಗ್ನಿಂದ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ನಂದು ಇಮೇಲ್ ಕೂಡ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿವಸ ನಾವು ನಿಮಗೆ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಫಂಡಮೆಂಟಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ CS 54 ಅದರದ್ದು ಯೂನಿಟ್ 3 ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಿಮಗೆ ಯೂನಿಟ್ 1 and 2 ಈಗಾಗಲೇ 9 ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ಗಳು ಆಗಿದೆ. ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ವಿಚಾರಗಳು ತಿಳಿದಿದೆ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಇದು ಯೂನಿಟ್ 3 ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಮಾತಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಾನು ಅದರ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಈ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಅದು ಕೆಲವು ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಮೊದಲು ಇದು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟನ್ನು ಇದು ಕೆಲವು ಈ ಯೂನಿಟ್ 3ನಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ಒಂದು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥ ವಿಷಯಗಳು ತುಂಬ ಇದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ನಂದು ಎಂಫಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ನಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಸ್ಸು ಅದು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೆಲವು ನಾನು ಸೂಟೇಬಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಯಾವ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಬುಕ್ ನಾನು ಹಿಂಗೇನು ಇದು ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ಬೇಕಾದರೆ ನನಗೆ ಬರೀರಿ, ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಬುಕ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಸಜೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಈಗ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟು ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸು. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಅಂತಂತ ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಏನು ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಥಿಂಗ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಲರ್ನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಇವತ್ತು ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಭಾಳ ಕಾಮನ್ ಟರ್ಮಿನಾಲಜೀಸು. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಇವನ್ ದಿನಬಳಕೆ ಶಬ್ದಗಳ ಥರ ಆಗೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಇವಾಗ. ಬಟ್ ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಒಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ನೀವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೆಲವು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಬೇಕು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೆಲವು ಅದು ಮತ್ತು ಬೇರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಟುಡೇ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಲರ್ನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್, ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್. ಅಗೇನ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇದೆ, ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇದೆ, ಓಪನ್ ಸೋರ್ಸು, ಪ್ರೊಪ್ರೈಟರಿ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಏನು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಏನು, ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಇದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅವನ್ನೆಲ್ಲನೂ ನಾವು ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್. ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಭಾಳ ಈಸಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು. ಯಾಕಂತಂದರೆ ಈವನ್ ಒಂದು ಮನುಷ್ಯನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಅಂತ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮದು ಕೈ ಇದೆ, ಕಾಲಿದೆ, ಕಣ್ಣಿದೆ, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರು. ಬಟ್ ನಾವು ಏನು ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ನಾವು ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಇದು ಮಾಡೋದು, ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಿಚಾರವಾಗಿ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರು. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಏನು ವಿಷಯ ಅಂತ ಇದಾಗತ್ತಂತಂದರೆ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಒನ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಂಜಿಬಲ್ ಅಂತ. ಒನ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಂಜಿಬಲ್. ಸ್ಟೋರೇಜ್ ಡಿವೈಸಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಈಗ CD ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಹಾರ್ಡ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಮಾನಿಟರ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, CPU ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಡಿವೈಸಸ್ ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಪ್ರಿಂಟರ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲನೂ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಫಿಸಿಕಲಿ ಮುಟ್ಟೋದಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರು. ಯಾವುದು ಮುಟ್ಟೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಈಗ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮು ಅದೊಂದು ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿರಬೇಕು. ಈಗ ಒಂದು CD-ನಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರು. CD ಈಸ್ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್. ಈವನ್ ಡೇಟಾ ಕೂಡ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಆಲ್ ದ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್, ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್, ಮ್ಯಾನ್ಯುವಲ್ಸು ಎಲ್ಲನೂ ಒಂದು ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ಕೆಲವು ಈ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ದು ಕೆಲವು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಕೆಲವು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ನ ನೋಡೋಣ. ಯಾವ ಥರ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ನೋಡೋಣಪ್ಪ ಅಂದರೆ, ಈಗ ಕೆಲವುನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಬರೀ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಇರುವಂಥ ಕೆಲವು ಐಟಮ್ಗಳನ್ನ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಇದರದ್ದು ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಗಿವ್ ಸಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ ಮಿ ಸಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್. ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಸೆಂಡ್ ಮಿ ಸಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್. ಈಗ ಬರೀ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಇರುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು ಸೈಕಲ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಬರೀ ಒಂದು ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ತೊಗೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಮೊಬೈಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ಗಳು ಒಂದೇ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ದೆನ್ ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಮೊಬೈಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮೊಬೈಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ, ಒಂದರಲ್ಲಿ FM ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೋ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅವೆಲ್ಲನೂ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಏನು ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ನಿಂದನೇ ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಕೆಲವುದರಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಕೆಲವುದರಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅವೆಲ್ಲನೂ ಯಾವುದರಿಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಅದು ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ನಿಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಫ್ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಇಸ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ನಿಂದ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ದ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ದು ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದರದ್ದು ಅದನ್ನು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುವಂಗೆ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ಗಳಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ನೀವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಈಗ ಟುಡೇ ಯಾವುದೇ ತೊಗೊಂಡ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇದ್ದೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ಒಂದು ವಾಷಿಂಗ್ ಮೆಷಿನೇ ತೊಗೊಳ್ಳಿ ನೀವು, ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ನೀವು ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಟಿ ವಿನೇ ತೊಗೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಇವಾಗ ಟಿ ವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಸಣ್ಣ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದು ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಕೆಲವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇವನ್ನ ನೆನಪಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ರಿಫರೆನ್ಸಸ್ ನೆನಪಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಇದು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಈ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ನಿಂದ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ವಸ್ತುವಿನ ಬೆಲೆ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ವಸ್ತುವಿನ ಅಂದರೆ ದ ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಇಟ್ ಎನ್ಹಾನ್ಸಸ್ ದ ಕೇಪಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಏನು ಇವಾಗ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂದರೆ, ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಒನ್ ವಿಚ್ ಈಸ್ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್, ಯಾವುದನ್ನು ಮುಟ್ಟೋಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರು. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಕೀಬೋರ್ಡೇ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಮಾನಿಟ್ರೇ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ವಿಚ್ ಈಸ್ ಇಂಟ್ಯಾಂಜಿಬಲ್, ಅದು ಮುಟ್ಟೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಅಂದರೆ ಅದು ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಡಾಟಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಅಷ್ಟು. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್ there are some things which are only hardware. Okay, there are certain things which are both hardware and software. One classical example is mobile, TV is there, washing machine is there, so many things, camera is there. So all are with the hardware plus software. So hardware and software, I mean when they are together, then a lot of facilities can be added to this thing. The next we will see the types of software. ಈ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫಿಕೇಷನ್, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಟೈಪ್ಗಳ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇದೆ. ಒಂದು ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಅಂತ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರು, ಓಪನ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರು, ಪ್ರೊಪ್ರೈಟರಿ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಅಂತ 4 ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫಿಕೇಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಈಗ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಇದು ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರು ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಇದು ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಯುಟಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ದಟ್ ಅನೇಬಲ್ ದ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಟು ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್. ಸೊ ಇದು ಹೌ ಡಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಡಿಫರ್? ಓಕೆ, ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ತುಂಬ ಒಂದು ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಇವಾಗ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯುಟಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಈಗ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲವು ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಶೀಟೇ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಒಂದು ಇದೇ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಯುಟಿಲಿಟೀಸ್, ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ಯುಟಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅವೆಲ್ಲನೂ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಶುಡ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾಗುವಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್. ಈಗ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ term referring to any computer software that manages, controls the hardware so that the application software can perform a task. ಅಂದರೆ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಬೇರೆ, ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಬೇರೆ. ದೆನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್? ಈಗ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಇದೆ, ಕಂಪೈಲರ್ ಇದೆ, ಲೋಡರ್ ಇದೆ, ಲಿಂಕರ್ ಇದೆ, ಇಂಟರ್ಪ್ರಿಟರ್ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್. ಐ ಮೀನ್ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ದೆಮ್ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್, whatever hardware is there, so that will enable us to do any application software. Application software ಏನು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದೇ we cannot appreciate the examples of system software. System software, first let us understand that operating system compiler. For example, what is a compiler? So compiler all of you must have used. You must have used some languages and you must have done some programming, and for that you definitely require a compiler. So compiler is a piece of software that is comes under the system software. So I will discuss about the compiler later on. Let us go to the differentiate between the application software and the system software. Application software includes the programs that do real work for the user, payroll system, inventory management, manage student database, word processor, spreadsheet, database management. These are all application software. They have some applications. Now just to differentiate between the application software and the system software, I will take an example of a bank. In a bank, see, the bank is used by so many people for different users. For example, I may use it just to credit my salary there and draw whenever I want. So some other people may use the bank for some business transactions. Some other big company may send all the dividends to all its shareholders, but the bank remains same. So, the bank has its own system software, that means it will have its own operations, like it will have counters where SB is there, the wherein payments are received, the manager resting will do with some functions. So, basically the same bank I can use it for different applications, but the bank structure will not change because I use it in a different way. So, similarly the number of application software can be many, that is depending on your own creativity. So, you can have payroll. So, first I will tell you what is a payroll application. Probably you will, once you understand the payroll application, then you will understand what is a this thing. So, let us understand the okay. So, the payroll, what is a payroll application, what is that it contains? It is a piece of software again. So, these are all things. Say for example, payroll. So, what is the thing? See, every month how many days people have worked, that will be input. So, then you will calculate what is his monthly salary. Okay. So, that is the thing, that is given the days, it will calculate what is the salary of that. So, it is an application. So, similarly I can have a number of applications. So, for examples, the student database is there. So, for example, student database or students result processing or application, it is also an application. So, for that students data will be fed. Student data means all the marks in some subjects and all that. So, the output will be the results, will be the output. So, this is another application. So, like that we can have one more application wherein inventory. You must have seen in a big store there is a inventory. For example, you must have visited the some big stores wherein they will have thousands of items. So, how do they know that which item is over and when to order? Say for example, in a store there are soaps, okay. There are only, so as soon as the soaps are about 100, when they will come to know about it, then they will have to order. So, it will take a day, and that 100 soaps are sufficient for a day. Then how do they know? So, that means inventory control, that is as and when the items are sold, the inventory control will keep track of the what is the quantity remaining. Okay. Then as soon as it reaches some quantity which is called, that is the level reordering level, then the manager will place the order and the item will come. So, on the whole the items will be never be fall short of the in the stores. So, that is the inventory control. So, what is that you understand is the application. First I want you to understand the application software. That means you know that the payroll is a thing, students results calculation is there, inventory is there. So, there can be many more applications wherein the applications are what is the whatever the you want, the people want it. Whereas, the system software, I will give one example of system software. For example, compiler I said is a system software. Compiler is a system software. What is the thing it does? It takes the input in one language, for example, say C language. It will take the input from in C language and it will create a output in the object language. Okay. So, in that process it can also give the error messages. You must have got error messages, warnings. So, what is the purpose of the compiler? It takes the language, C language, and it tries, if the thing is correct, then it will map it onto an object program. Object program is nothing but the program which is understood by the machine. It will be a low level thing. So, whereas one C language statement can be translated into maybe 50 or maybe 10. So, there will be one to many relation. Here the one to many relation will be there. One high level language statement will be converted into many low level or the object language. Object language could be assembly level language, I mean it could be even the machine language. So, now one to many relation will be there. See, such examples we come across many. So, for example, if you say that you order the person who is doing some say cleaning the house, then you say clean the house, but that is a one statement, but that statement means so many small items. It has to be if there are some 5 rooms, or each room is to be cleaned, it should be washed, and so many things. So, that means one instruction is transformed into many instructions. So, similarly, a compiler will translate a statement in high level language, that is C language, into object language. Now, just to make this clear, I will give one more example of how it is. So, the basically if you are trying to understand the various levels in which how the this thing operates, see the hardware will be in the center, it is the core. Hardware is required, without hardware nothing will work. Now, on top of that there is a operating system will be there, that forms a interface. Then on top of that the application software. So, you know that, see, to reach the hardware for an application software, I gave an example of, that is payroll or the student database or the student results thing, or for that matter inventory. So, they will have to interact with the operating system, and through the operating system interaction they will have to reach the hardware. Hardware is a must. That means, the operating system acts as a interface between the user is here and the computer. So, it is a sort of interface. Without this interface, it will become very difficult to use the computer. Later on in the next class, wherein I have exclusive class on operating system, I will define the various functions, how the operating system works, and what are all the functions it does. Right now, you will have to understand that the application software, this is nothing but the system software. So, the application software will be uses system software to communicate to the hardware, so that the whole process is executed. So, the essential thing for the program application software to work is both hardware also is required, the system software is also required. System software, we said there are various types of system software are there. Compiler is one which translates. For example, you are writing a C language program to add 2 numbers, say, just for the thing. So, that will be here, the compiler will translate it into the machine code which will be executed on the hardware. That means, again a piece of system software is used to, when you want to execute a C language program, then a system software comes into play which converts that is, in this particular case it is a compiler which will translate the C language program, I mean the C language instructions into machine language, and it is executed on the hardware. So, that is now we will see the other type of application software. Now, the only in the system software I have described only the operating system as an interface between application software and the hardware, and the compiler also I have touched only 2. Now, we will see the other type of softwares. So, there is also what is known as this term you will see in the paper, open source software. See, some of you have used, is a computer software whose source code is available. All of you must have heard that the Linux is this thing, Linux is available in the as a open source. Any of you can download, you can use it. So, there are many utilities are also there. Open source, many of the utilities every day you will see on probably on Wednesday, Deccan Herald also they will announce what are all the utility softwares they are available with which you can download freely. You do not have to pay anything for them, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅಂಥ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ಸ್ನ ನೀವು ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿ ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ದ್ಯಾಟ್, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಚೇಂಜ್, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಅದನ್ನು ಅವನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ರೀಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರ್ದು ಪರ್ಮಿಷನ್ ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ that sort of software is known as the open source software. It is often developed in a public collaborative manner, well known as Linux, Netscape and Apache server. Okay. Apache is a web server. So that which will come, that is it is available, freely available, and it is a very well known web server, and it is 60% of the web servers are Apache servers. Netscape is a browser. Okay, that also it can be, you can download it, you do not have to pay any money for that, you can without paying anything you can download, it is available free. So what you understand from the open software is it is freely available, you can modify it, source code is available, and in some cases, and if you want you can modify it, redistribute, and you do not have to pay any money. So in contrast to that, there is what is known as the proprietary software. What is that proprietary software? It is a non-free software, a software with restriction on using, copying and modifying as enforced by the proprietor. Restriction on use, modification, copying is achieved by either legal or technical means, and sometimes both. Now, we will not bother about the modification of any of those things, that is a big things only big companies can do. So, we will understand what is a proprietary software. Already you are aware of the proprietary things, even for example the Philips TV is there. So, you see if you make one TV, you cannot put Philips emblem on that. So, that is a company property. So, they only, whatever the TV is manufactured by the Philips only, you can put that emblem, Philips emblem. So, that means that symbol is a proprietary in nature. You will see many things, many of the consumer goods are, I think, let it be toothpaste, or let it be electronic items, or TV, or any camera, or any other things. Most of them will be a proprietary thing. That means that's why they even you cannot modify it. That's why they will put a symbol. If you open that, the warranty goes. That means they are all proprietary items. Only those names can be used, or that model can, I mean, you cannot even design a model which looks like that. Okay. So that is all proprietary. They would have patented and all that. So similarly, in the software also there are many things which are proprietary in nature. For example, Microsoft operating system XP is there. So that is, you must buy that. If you want to install in your computer, you must buy it and use it. Then there are so many Norton antivirus is there, CAD software, computer aided design software is there. There are many software which are priced. That means you will have to ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ತಗೋಬೇಕು. ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಅಂದಲ್ಲ, ನಾರ್ಮಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅಲೌಡ್. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎ ಜನರಲ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್. ಅದು ಯಾರು ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಇದು ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ತಗೊಂಡು ಹಾಗೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರು ಏನಾದರೂ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ ಅದು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದರ ನಮ್ಮ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಯು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಪ್ರೊಪ್ರೈಟರಿ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್. ಸಿ Microsoft, all the operating system, XP or Windows 2000 or Vista new software, or any of these softwares like antivirus software, they are all the proprietary software which wherein you have to pay the money and buy it. So now we have seen the the two types of 4 types of softwares, and also in the application software, and in the system software. Now we will deal with the very important software, system software. There are many system softwares are there. I told you compiler is a system software, operating system is a system software, linker is a system software, editor is a system software. So there are number of softwares are come under this category. They all enhance the usage of the computer. They are not application softwares. So that is basically to use the computer efficiently, they are designed. For example, operating system is a very important system software. So what does the operating system do? Operating system is a software which makes the computer to actually work. Otherwise, the computer using will be very difficult. So for everything you will have to write a program yourself, which will be very difficult. For example, it is a very complex series of operations are there. You want to use a mouse, then you will have to write a instructions for that to read the input from the mouse. It is not easy for everybody. It is like see all the any of the items you look at it, even you see for example scooter is there, see all the gear is brought out outside, okay, so that it is easy for the user to use the scooter. So similarly, any of the items if you see, there is a interface with the actual hardware and the user. So operating system is a very important software which comes under the system software category, and it is a interface between the user and the computer. Otherwise, the usage of the computer will be very difficult. It is the software that enables all programs we use. Okay. So it helps us to use the programs. There are so many utilities are there. Then OS organizes and controls the hardware. So for example, if you look at the commands, suppose you say that print something. So that itself is a complex instructions will be there. For that it will have to check whether paper is there, this is there, printer is all right. So many things will have to be checked. So all that organizations will be done by the operating system, and it will do the required job for the user. OS acts as an interface between application program and machine hardware. So this is another thing, that is, as I told you, the machine finally the hardware is a must. Without the hardware you cannot execute anything. So what is the thing, user interface or the operating system is, it allows you to interact with the hardware, because basically for everybody it is difficult to interact with the hardware. So now the operating systems, there are various types of operating systems are there. Windows are there, Linux is there, Unix is there, Mac OS is there, all are operating systems. So we will deal with the operating system in the next class in greater detail, because we have a separate chapter for that. So we will see the next, the compiler. Compiler already I have this, it reads a program in one language, source language, and translates into equivalent program in another language, target language, machine language. The machine understands only the machine language. This I have already explained. So the source language can be a C language, it can be Pascal language, it can be Fortran language, C++, ADA, it can be. So the target language, when again it can be, again it is possible to translate. It is basically a translator, like we translate from Kannada to English, Kannada to Hindi, it is possible. It is basically a translator. So once you see the translator, I want to tell you how the way we translate, the machine also does the same things. Okay, for example, if you are given a sentence in Kannada, you have to translate it into English. Then what is that you do? The first you will have to understand the whether the given sentence is, if assuming that even see a human being, even if it is not grammatically correct, then also you will understand, but the machine will understand only if it is grammatically correct, assuming that you also follow the same rules. So when you hear a Kannada sentence, first you will have to check that it is grammatically correct sentence, then you will have to understand that what is the meaning of that, semantics, once you understand the meaning of that, then you will have to take that meaning into some other language, for example, English. So, you will have to, that is the translation. Translation involves the analysis and synthesis. It is, there are two important phases are there. So, that is, first you have to analyze the sentence and extract the meaning, then you have to synthesize that meaning in some other language. So, the compiler does it. Of course, there are so many phases will be there. We will see later on when we take up the compiler proper. Now, as you understand, compiler is a translator basically from one language to another. Now, there is other kinds of softwares are also there. What is known as the loader? Loader. So, the program, see, when the compiler translates, it may not be in a state to be executed directly. So, it requires another piece of software. So, the loader takes the loader works like this. Suppose this is a loader. So, already assume that it is in machine language. It is already been translated by the compiler. So, the loader will have to see that this program is loaded into the memory in the wherever the memory will be divided into a number of bytes and this thing. So, that is, this program has to be, suppose this is not free, then it will be loaded, see, it will be loaded here. So, only when it is loaded into the memory, that is the already you have random access memory. So, wherein it is loaded, then it will be executed. The loading also means this is to be given a memory location. For example, it should start from 1000 H, something like that, 1000 H. So, it is, that is the address of that. So, that means the machine language, the translated the target language, you will have to be loaded into the proper memory address and then only it can be executed. So, that is the job of the loader. So, that is also a system software. Now, let us go into the other types of thing. For Unix we have a loader called execve, okay, that is a function. Now, let us see the other linker. So, linker is another type of system software. So, linker is again you will have to understand, to give a linker it is slightly more difficult, but I will try to give you an example. Through the example you must understand the what is a linker. See, the various programs will have to interact to achieve a particular object. So, for that the various modules are compiled separately. So, linker is supposed to resolve the cross references. So, what is this cross reference? So, for example, suppose I say that you have a friend called Suresh, say, then suppose then there is a person in opposite to your house also, there is a Suresh. Then when you are talking in your house, when you say Suresh, then there will be a confusion. Is it your friend Suresh in the college or your opposite house Suresh? So, that means this kind of this is, then you will have to say that the Suresh, I meant my college classmate. So, similarly in a program what happens, we will be using the variables, different variables which are used in different modules. Then I will have to say that, suppose I say that count, then count of which module, is it of belongs to this or some other module, module 1, module 2, module 3, we will have to resolve. So, that is the job of the linker or link editor, it is called. Now, there is another piece of software, system software, that is called interpreter. So, the interpreter is a program that translates and executes the translations written in computer programming. So, you should observe the difference. So, in the compiler executes was not there. see, interpreter is also a translator, compiler is also a translator. Then what is the difference? Okay, just to give you an example and this thing. So, the interpreter, suppose interpreter means, suppose some person is talking, he says one sentence, then the interpreter immediately translates that and probably executes. Okay. Whereas, the compiler will not, after hearing each sentence, it will not, it will completely hear all the instructions, all the sentences, and it will translate. And if in the in between, if he makes any mistake, then the compiler will give error and it will, the translated thing will not be available. The interpreter, whereas suppose he has talked correctly 3 sentences, it would have translated. In the 4th sentence he makes a mistake, then the interpreter will give error at that position and it will leave that and it will go to the next 5th line and again it will do the translation. Okay. It will not bother that 4th error was there and it will not stop, whereas a compiler, if there is a mistake, then the translation will not be of any use. So, what we understand is, then what is the use of each one? That is why we should use a compiler. We can as well use interpreter all the time. So, interpreter is not efficient in terms of the efficiency of translation. That means, if you are running a program every day, say, then you should not use interpreter, because interpreter, every time you load that program, it will going to interpret and it is going to take more time. Suppose today you have interpreted, you have got the results correct, tomorrow you will have the additional overhead of interpreting that, whereas in a compiler, once it is translated, the compiler itself is not required. Tomorrow you can use the translated the target code or the machine code directly, you do not need the compiler at all, whereas in case of interpreter, every day you will have to translate, there is a overhead of translation is there. That means, the difference between a compiler and the interpreter is, interpreter translate every time and execute, whereas compiler is translate once and execute many times. So, the programs which are you are going to see, for example, compilers what you will be using, they are all they will be in the execute form. Okay. So, there is no everyday translation. So, the basically that is the difference between a interpreter and a compiler. Now, there is what is known as application software. Now, there are application software I already talked about. For example, a payroll is a application software. So, that is using the computer you develop an application for your own thing. For example, student database is there or inventory is there. These are all some of the applications thing. So, the application software, what are the application softwares we have? See, the one of the application software is word processor. So, the word processor is a tool that helps the user in creating, editing, printing. Suppose you want to write a letter, then you will be using the most probably the word processor, or you have to submit a report on a topic, then you will be using the word processor. So, what are the capabilities of word processor? It will do the spelling check, then it will do the spell check, it will do, then standard layouts are also being done, then have some characteristic see, you want to underline something, you have written a report. So, you want to do that, you want to write in italics. So, you want to center the whole thing. So, these are all required when you want to do the then you want to left side adjust, left adjustment, right adjustments, then documents it can used again, you can save this document again and again. Suppose it is a common document, you can print the document. All these things are possible with a word processor. So, that is the Word. For example, Microsoft Word is there, you can be using, you can use it for so many applications. So, your own limitations, the imagination is the limitation. So, that is one of the application software. Now, coming to the other application this thing, spreadsheet is another application. So, for example, you want to do a, for example, I mean I will tell you, see you have a student list is there, then their marks are there. So, for example, marks in physics is there, chemistry is there, maths is there. You want to tabulate that, you want to add the total of all the students, find the average and all that. So, all these applications can very easily be done using a spreadsheet. So, for that you will be using, so you can use it for budgets, you can use it for payrolls, grade calculation, address list. So, there are many applications are there wherein a spreadsheet will allow you to. So, the one of the spreadsheet that are available are, these are all again proprietary software. So, an application software can be a proprietary also. Microsoft and Excel and Lotus 1, 2, 3, Microsoft Excel, Lotus 1, 2, 3 are proprietary application softwares. Now, the other application softwares are graphical representations. So, this I will today, just to summarize what I have done, I will because I have certain questions to you after having gone through this session. So, what is that basically we have seen is, basically we have seen what is a application software, I mean software. First of all, we said software and hardware. So, software is something which is not tangible, you cannot touch, whereas the hardware is something which is you can touch, keyboard, monitor. So, I want you to do some thinking about it, and my email I have given you. So, you think about some machines, items, gadgets having only hardware. I gave an example, only hardware. For example, electric switch is there, it has no software, it is only hardware. Cycle is there, it is only a hardware, there is no software. I gave the example wherein hardware and software also there, hardware, both hardware and software are also there. For example, your mobile is there, it has to have both hardware and software, it has to have that keypad and all that software. Now, your VCR is there. So, there are many things. Now, what is that you will have to observe is, at the end of this, there is not a thing like only a software cannot exist. Either hardware can exist on its own, then hardware and software can exist together, but only a software may not be of any use. Now, I want you to find out the operating system in your computer and you are using and its version, and you can start using it is very easy to use. The word processor is very easy, and the spreadsheet. So, these are some of the items today we have covered, and find 5 proprietary software names of the this thing you must try to this thing. So, this is the work I am giving it to you, so that, and I have given my thing. So, if you have any thing, then you can contact me on my email I have given you. This the thing. So, today's with this you must do this homework, and with this we conclude today's this EduSat program, and next time we will continue. There are certain things which we could not cover. I will cover that, and next I will be covering the operating system. Okay, that is tomorrow.